or not.
Yeah, I mean, people will just not like the idea anyway, and I understand, but that's that's basically how it works really. That I'm
Well, how
saying
does it work? Like, what does the book say should be the punishment for that? Do you know?
corporal punishment, 100 lashes for unmarried parents. I mean, it
Oh,
says fornicators, but I'm going to go easy and say, well, if you can't prove it,
Oh,
I'm not
okay,
going to bother.
so
But
uh,
if you're
okay.
caught having children without a marriage certificate, you're not going to be successfully able to say it's a virgin birth or something.
And you want to implement something like that in the law, right?
Yeah, it has happened before. If you look up Wikipedia under colonial bastardy laws, you'll see that something very similar what was in place in America in colonial times.
Yeah, and I'm vehemently against that. It doesn't matter if it was somewhere in the Middle East or not. I'm against that regardless.
I know. I mean, it's a kind of sacred cow thing for lots of Westerners who don't agree with it. Basically, because what we have now is a culture that sanctifies extramarital sex. It's regarded as a human right, and for that reason, people will just not like the idea, and there will be difficulties, and I anticipate them. But I'm saying really that is the problem of the West, in that a lot of people are unhappy. The men are unhappy. The women are unhappy.
false, false.
I would disagree with that because I have an uncle-in-law who's with my aunt. Well, not really in-law because what I'm gonna get into is that they're not married. They're not married, but they have a kid and they've been together for decades. I mean, do you think that they should get lashes because they didn't want to do our societal version of marriage? Is that what you think?
I think there should be a rule, the same rule for everybody, so people will at least respect their children enough to, get married before having children. So, I mean, I'm sure there will be, very many, well, there will be quite a few married parents who will be bad parents, and there will be exceptional unmarried parents who do really well. But we have to consider what is most likely to happen and legislate for that. Because if you're saying it's okay for everybody not to be married when they have kids, then lots of people will, and then there will be problems. And if most people do that, then it'll be hard to change their minds, because they'll be thinking, oh, but we've done that for decades, for half a century, and now you're telling us to change? No way. And that will be the problem. And also, just because of the number of people who have had children outside wedlock, it'll be a very difficult thing to change. And I do
Do you
understand.
think my point was, do you think that my aunt and uncle should do you think they should get lashings then?
Yeah, it sounds like you're just saying that marriage or children out of wedlock should be like punished because children out of wedlock should be punished. It doesn't really sound like you're saying anything substantial like that.
Well, it's the only way to
Yeah.
encourage
You didn't answer
people.
my question either about do you think they should be lashed or not?
Well, there will be lots of people who will be in that situation, and I'm not, going to propose that it will be, you know, okay. People say, well, we don't want secular Koranism because you're going to lash so many of us. And I'm saying, don't worry about it. It's not going to happen to you. Um, the punishment only kicks in after secular Koranism is the law, and then you have your children out of
That's
wedlock.
So
But those of you who've
basically,
already had it, don't
uh,
you're
worry.
tiptoeing
Nothing
around the
nothing
fact
bad
that you
is going to
think
happen.
they should have gotten lashed, right?
Well, they didn't know. I mean, there was no punishment. Everybody thought it was okay, so it wouldn't be fair to blame them because they didn't think it was a crime. And
Oh,
retrospective legislation, well, it's unfair because you shouldn't punish people for doing something that wasn't a crime at the time they
Hold
did it. So,
yeah,
on,
yeah,
hold
that's true. I just don't think that that should ever be a crime.
on. So
But
wait, this is a problem that I have with this is that you're advocating for something that's malum and prohibitum, which is basically saying that it's wrong because the law says it's wrong. Now, I'm an advocate for malum in se, which says that we have uh, intrinsic values and still to us to know what is wrong.
I don't understand. Could you explain the last thing?
Basically, that the morals that I adhere to are just axiomatic; they're just self-apparently wrong. The ones you are saying this law says it's wrong, therefore it's wrong.
Yeah, I mean that's basically the law. I mean, the law is the law whether we agree with it or not, and it will punish us whether we agree with it or
But
not.
the thing about it is that at one point in time, like I brought up to you yesterday in our conversation, slavery was legal. Does that mean that slavery was correct and right and permissible because it was legal at one point in time, or is it still morally wrong?
yeah,
Well,
exactly.
I would say that well, there is a verse in the Quran that says you shouldn't allow what God has forbidden, and you shouldn't forbid what God has allowed. And I'm afraid God didn't say anything about slavery and the banning of it, and so this suggests that maybe slavery shouldn't be banned. And we also know that even after it's been banned, it creeps up again, in the form of human trafficking and all kinds of things. But and people do voluntarily sell their labor, sell
Yeah,
themselves into slavery. Indentured.
I get what you're saying. I know it's impossible for your God to be wrong about anything. I know
No,
that.
I'm not even
Uh,
saying it's I'm saying it's a bargain that people will do. Women will risk
no,
being
no, no. But what I'm trying to tell you is that you are setting up the stipulations of where you are saying Allah said it's correct, and Allah can't be like wrong about anything in your epistemology, obviously. So why like I don't understand like how you think that this is gonna like just fly with people. Like,
No, I'm not expecting people to agree with me, but there are sociological explanations about prostitution. It's still controversial. Some people think it should be forbidden completely. Other people think it should be allowed to exist in regulated circumstances, such as in red light district, which kind of means that extramarital sex can only take place in licensed brothels and nowhere else. Because if you do it anywhere else, you're technically a sex offender. So there are all kinds of things that are allowed but regulated, such as drinking, or it used to be in the UK where you can't sell alcohol outside certain hours.
so
That sort
here
of
is a
thing. So
big
it's
problem.
allowed, regulated, but restricted.
Yeah, I understand. But here's the biggest problem with me with your doctrine is that you are trying to instill upon a let's just say it's kind of like what is that word? It's basically saying to behave as if God existed, or Pascal's wager. Basically, just you saying at the beginning, it's like Pascal's wager. It's easier to behave as if a God exists versus facing an eternity
The law
of damnation.
should presuppose the existence of God, in
Basically,
your view.
yeah. And
That's a dumb statement.
it is a dumb
You
statement,
you
but
you you first have to um, even presuppose God, not the law itself presupposing that God exists. I mean, what?
And to be
I
fair,
mean, she
even if
didn't
you
even get that far.
even if you accept the point about Pascal's wager, right, where God's more likely to exist than not, it doesn't tell you which God. You know what I mean? There's no guarantee that
Yeah,
it's
but
yours
don't
in the
worry.
Quran.
Pascal's wager is another
Yeah, but
dumb
that
theistic
that
argument.
requires playing devil's advocate, Jimmy, when you do that.
You know,
I
I'm just
haven't
saying. I'm
heard.
just
Yeah,
I
saying.
haven't
Even
I
heard.
get
even
your
if you
point.
take a point of face value, it still doesn't hold up. Is what I'm saying.
what I was
Yeah.
trying to say is that she's trying to promote the laws that are tied to the Quran, specifically, and you identify as an agnostic, and
Hmm.
I'm not you. I'm just really confused on how the hell you've come to the conclusion that the Quran is the one that we should be going by.
Well, because
Like when
it's
there's
the best available
That's a good
guide, in
question.
my view.
you could post hoc create a religion and it would be better, and it would still have nothing to do with like or affect the truth value of your claim.
Sorry, what did you
Why
say
not
about the truth
Christianity?
value of
I
my
mean, they
claim?
both have quite the similar ethic.
Yeah, like you could totally just post hoc create a religion, and it would have nothing to do or nothing to like I can post hoc create explanations, and they have nothing to do with like the truth value of what I'm saying. Like I could still completely be right even if it's post hoc.
I don't know what
So
that means. I'm afraid I don't understand what you're trying to say.
after the fact, like let's just say like the Quran is there, right? And you take it upon yourself to say, hey, these are things that my God would not permit. Like you could totally do that, and it would still like it still wouldn't have anything to do with like the truth value of your claim.
What do you mean about the truth value of my claim? I'm basically saying,
Like you could still be correct even if you change things after the fact. Like you could still completely be correct. Like there are Christians out there that say, you know, for instance, I don't believe in the laws of Exodus 21:12 because my God wouldn't say that. Like I have revelation and I don't believe that my God would say that. My God is a loving God. Now that just because they changed that after the fact that the holy text was written doesn't necessarily mean they're wrong. They could still be right.
um,
Like so,
okay,
so
I'm not even saying people. Okay, I'm saying people should behave as if they believed in God because that would just be really helpful. It will be helpful towards obeying the laws for longer, more people doing it happily and willingly with a better society, in my view. And you're saying no, you disagree, and everything's fine, and that's it, really, isn't it? There will be others like you who think, oh, everything's fine. We don't want any changes. Your horrible ideas, and there might be others who say, well, we need change. We can't carry
Claire,
on like this.
Claire, I'm going to demonstrate something to you real quick. What's your justification for slavery being moral?
I'm just saying, because it's allowed. It hasn't been forbidden by.
Exactly. It lies within your God's proposed moral system, right?
And chopping Claire's head off, it's allowed, therefore it's moral.
Yeah. So like
Well, it
I could
doesn't
literally
say that actually.
Oh,
I
It
could
Well,
doesn't forbid it. It doesn't forbid
hypothetically,
us
using
cutting
your
your head off.
logic, it could justify anything just because it's not forbidden.
Yeah, but
just
I'm
because it
saying
says
you
in a
you can
book
look at
that
the laws in the Quran and say, well, it's fair enough. It serves a particular purpose, and um, and the
well,
purpose is for it's in the national interest.
yeah. Well, how about this, right? I just had revelation from blah, 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 right, and blah, 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 told me, for instance, that it is okay for me to smash guitars over people's heads if they look at me, and I'm going to write that down. I'm going to put that down in the doctrine. Now, blah, 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 has also released
Yeah,
that he
but there
cannot.
is no such revelation that
How do
says
you know
the
that?
things you do. Is there? So if you're going to pretend there is, you're going to
I,
cook up
because
a story. You'll have to convince a lot of people.
okay, and you are failing to do that here right now.
Well,
Is what I'm
I
trying to
am
say.
yeah, you're
relying
gonna have
on.
to convince them that like going by this implementing the Quran into law is a good idea, and you haven't done that so far.
Well, I could present. I think only people who want to become married parents would think, oh, we need a lot of help from the government, laws supporting marriage and family values. But if I'm talking to a bunch of bachelors, I guess I won't be getting you guys to agree with me. You know, so I think that's a problem. And if most people in your society are not interested in becoming married parents, then I think I've already made up my case that you're doomed. You're not even going to replace yourselves. You're just instead of becoming married parents, you're just going to be gay and marry each other in a gay way.
You don't have to
Hold
be
up.
married in order to have a stable. I mean, you do have to have like a like
You
a
don't.
two parent like having a stable family unit with like
No,
two parents that are together, but you don't have to get married per
you don't even.
se. I
Yeah,
mean,
you don't even need two parents. You can have a single parent, and it's perfectly okay. Like there's a lot of people I know who have grown up and said, I don't care about knowing my dad. I don't give a shit. I didn't need him. I'm fine. I'm happy and I'm fine. Like, so, like, you have to propose, you have to explain how this is a problem. Like, you still have yet to explain how any of this is a problem, especially if there are like constraints in a political system that impose like unfair circumstances on somebody in case they're like, because there's a lot of things that are imposed on people who are married, and a lot of people get divorced and stay together just so they can evade those kind of like
Losing half of your shit when you like through family court or something.
Yeah, yeah. So you need to make marriage a good bargain for men again, and secular Koranism will
uh,
help you do that because some of you may
uh,
know that Muslims treat marriage as a contract, which means that divorce must logically and necessarily be breach of the term of the marriage contract. So you get fault in it again. So it won't be easy to just say, oh, I'm going to get half your stuff because you haven't managed to keep me happy. Thank you very much. So obviously
uh,
the rules of marriage needs to be changed to make it
yeah.
a good bargain for
That
men.
without secular Koranism. That's what I'm. But the whole point here is you to try to justify why we should take secular Koranism. You are just saying we can change this about like the system, and it can like it fits fine with my epistemology. We can do that without your epistemology. Like we can take everything else away from your epistemology and just do that one thing. And now are we secular Koranists?
Yeah, you could, but you really need the authority to do that because I mean I'm sure
Uh,
some people will think, oh, this is good enough. I mean, this is a good idea, but for the whole package of proposals to go through, it has to go through it has to go through in one go to sort everything out once and for all. I mean, if you do, a little bit here one year and a little bit there the next year, it won't it won't have the desired effect because people won't notice. You need to say, well, we're going to draw a line under the mistakes of the past, and we should have done this before, but we didn't, but now we're going to. Or some dramatic official formal statement like that.
we should have. Okay. I'm failing to see the contest here. Okay, so what I said was literally that we could literally get rid of your epistemology and just do that one thing.
Okay,
So what's the problem
you
with
can
that?
try. You can try, but I mean, I bet one of you'll all disagree about which verse to leave out, which verse to leave in, how to interpret it, and then you'll start fighting amongst yourselves. I know you will.
No, no, any verses. What I'm trying to say is we don't need any verses. We can get rid of the Quran and we can just do that one thing and get rid of the Quran completely, and then there's nothing wrong with that. Like what you're saying has nothing to do with what I just said.
Okay, but you can't prove that you're
Ancient
gonna do
people
all
from
those things.
2,000 years ago to tell us how we should build society. I mean,
What
because
she wants
we
you
seem
to
to be
do.
doing that pretty. The Western world seems to have been doing that pretty damn well.
Yeah, we don't have to completely agree on something. Like the problem is you're saying that there needs to be an objective law that to where people could not disagree on something set forth, right? People could still disagree on the source of where you're getting like all of this from. Like we could completely disagree. Like the Christians for instance would bitch and fucking moan from day fucking one if you put this fucking law. You're like, hey,
Why
the
would they
Quran is an
moan?
objective source,
I mean, they have no
and
law. They
it's
have no law in their book. That is really their problem, isn't it? Nothing in the New
yes, they do.
Testament says anything definite about the rules, which is why the West is in such a mess now, and most people don't believe. Most people are not Christians, and the only way Christianity worked was when European monarchs were prepared to burn heretics at the stake.
So anything that Jesus said in regards to morality is not considered a law.
Well, we don't even know. What did he say? The poor will always be with us? I mean, what did he actually say?
Uh, what is it? He without sin cast the first stone. Literally, like
Well, that's
that's
not very
literally like a.
helpful. That's not very helpful,
How
is
is that
it?
not helpful?
No, because
How is that?
you need the law to be enforced. You can't say, oh, because you're sinful, you can't be a
Literally,
policeman.
God is the Son of God. Like what? What about that does not seem like it's being enforced?
Look, Jesus was never, ever in a position of authority. He was always trying to escape the
Literally, the
attentions of
Son of
the.
God. What higher authority is there than being God Himself?
Well,
He's literally in the
I'm
fucking.
afraid a lot of people don't accept that Jesus is God. Sorry.
Okay, and you know what? You know what? We don't accept Muhammad as a fucking prophet. Thank you very fucking much. I can do the same thing to you. It's just you special fucking pleading. You're just special pleading.
Well, and also your belief is idolatry and blasphemy. I'm afraid if you're going to go
Okay.
all theological on me.
Yeah. And I can literally just say the same thing about yours. I can say Muhammad is a false prophet, and you believe in idolatry and fucking blasphemy.
No,
I can literally just say the
idolatry
same
is
thing.
You could assert the same. The point is that you're asserting it without any evidence, Claire. And he
I'm
could do the
referring
same thing. That's
to.
what he's trying to get by.
I am referring to sources. So that
Yeah, and he's referring
you
to the
have a
Christian Bible.
book.
I mean,
You can't, and you guys, however much you hate Islam and Muslims, you can't think of a better book than the Quran.
I literally can, and I can write it right now. I can literally just write it right now.
This is
strong
ridiculous. I
man
mean,
us. I'm not
okay,
saying we
what
hate
I've heard
Muslims.
is Harry Potter is better. My sister's coloring book is better. Oh, I can write one now. Can I have a serious one?
This explained religion.
Well, that's the point, Claire. Is what I just told you is that I can post hoc make anything. I can post hoc
But you
make
wouldn't be
anything, and it
taken
has nothing to do with the
seriously.
value.
The Communist Manifesto.
It doesn't matter if it's taken seriously. What matters is the merit. If people take it seriously or not that doesn't say anything about the merit towards if that should be implemented into law or not.
What
Well,
matters?
I mean, as an American, you must realize that there is a White House Quran, don't you? You do know there is a White House Quran.
What I'm trying to tell you is that
Okay, I mean,
so, and
cool.
it belonged to
Yeah,
Thomas
and?
Jefferson, who drafted what later became the First Amendment. It's not just some airy fairy idea that I pulled
Yeah.
out of the air.
so
And white
some
hot
things in the
potato
Quran
answer.
have merit, therefore everything in the Quran has merit. That's not a logically valid argument. It doesn't
Okay,
matter
well,
if he
we'll find the
drafted
bits that you don't
one
like, and we
verse
can talk about
into the
them.
law. That doesn't mean that the entire book is you should implement everything into law.
Okay, so whose selection is it going to be then? Your selection, or somebody else's selection, or my selection?
here's the same thing, Claire. Is that I don't know how you don't understand this. Is that we would use reason in the same way that you have used reason to believe that the Quran is the true arbiter of morality. Like we would literally use our own reason. The only difference is that you use the Quran and we just rely on our own reason and then form it into the law. Like that's literally how this works. You just add the Quran as an extra, additional, unnecessary axiom.
Well, it has the authority that you guys lack, I guess.
No, so does the Bible. So does the fucking Bible. Literally any fucking religion. Like I said, I could just create a fucking religion, like post hoc. Like I said, told me to fucking make the law.
But nobody would take him
Scientology did that.
seriously. Yeah, Scientology is considered a cult. So it takes quite a while for religion to get established. It took Christianity about 300
Well, that people in this
years.
country take the
You know what?
Bible way more seriously than the
think would be
Quran. We're mostly a Christian country, not a Muslim country.
Do you know what I think would be accepted more readily by society? Something that did not make me whip the shit out of somebody because they fucking fucked up in their life. Something that did not make me behead the head of a fucking woman. Like, I think that would, I don't know if you guys would agree with me on that, but I think that would be accepted a lot faster than some fucking ancient old ass book that claims that that's the way to go. Like, I really, I don't understand how you can be so fucking ass
beheading,
backwards.
I'm afraid. I mean, the Quran doesn't talk about beheading or stoning.
What about chopping the hands of thieves?
Yeah, it does,
What
but
about
it
that?
also gives the option of mercy.
Oh well, that's nice.
Yeah.
Hold up.
Yeah, it
We
always
have
gives the
laws
option of
about
mercy.
ruling
To
on
decide
using
mercy,
punishment.
you get your hand lopped off. Who gets to decide that? The
Well,
government would probably be
thief
the one who
must
gets to
express
decide that.
remorse. So you can have a 3 strikes and you're
Claire.
out rule.
Claire, by the way, you're wrong. When the Lord inspired the angel saying, I am with you, so make those who believe stand firm. I will throw fear in the hearts of those who disbelieve, and smite their necks and smite them of each finger. 8:12. Now when ye meet in battle those who disbelieve, then it is smiting of the necks until we have ye have routed them, making the fast of bonds, and afterward each grace a ransom till war lay down its burdens. 47:4 Quran. You want me to keep
Dude,
going?
we need a Quran bot in this chat and a Bible bot as well, so
So
we
you're
can
wrong
quote
about
these things
beheading.
easier.
So okay,
You're
I'll have
wrong
a look
about-
at chapter 47, verse 4, you say. I thought you were reading from the Old Testament. And
No, in Islamic scripture.
okay, do you ever happen when your cursor goes and you can't? My cursor is gone, so I kind of
What?
What?
you know, but
Oh,
my
like
cursor
just
it's come back
do you have a
again. It's
mouse?
come back
Wave your
again.
mouse across the screen and maybe click a couple times or something.
Okay, okay.
Did you get it back?
Yeah, I've got it back, but it keeps going on this
Okay.
stream for some reason. 47. What was it again? 47.
47-4.
47.
You're gonna try and interpret this in a way that could alleviate you from having to explain yourself, aren't you?
Yeah, I'd like to try and explain it if I can. Once I find it.
No. What you're gonna do is you're gonna try to explain how it doesn't mean that it's beheading people, right? You're gonna try to weasel your way out of it.
Right. Yes, it's a famous one about
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
But
much.
okay,
Thanks for admitting that.
so here we go. So when you meet those who disbelieve in battle, so it's already you're already fighting a war with them. Strike at their necks until you have inflicted slaughter upon them, and then secure their bonds and either confer favour towards or ransom them until the war lays down its burdens. Like, okay, are you saying Muslims shouldn't be allowed to kill their enemies in battlefield? That is really a bit unfair.
You said the Quran does not call for beheading. You said the Quran does not call for
No,
beheading.
okay. This is not really about beheading. These instructions are so specific because Muhammad led men who were not trained in battle. That's why he has to say, look, when you see the enemy, you have to strike at their necks to quickly disable
Okay.
them and cut off their fingers so they won't, grab a sword and hurt you.
Why does your God even permit war? Why can't he just say, hey guys, don't fight, don't behead anybody, that's just wrong, don't do that shit? Instead he goes, no, hey guys, war is fine and beheading's good as long as it's in war. That's
come
straight
on.
with me.
I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, you know all about the Old Testament. It's all about war, right? It's all about
I don't
war.
give a shit about the Old Testament, you fucking idiot. I'm a fucking atheist. Like literally what I'm trying to ask you is that
I'm trying to tell you that all religions are about law and war, and I'm sorry you don't like it, but that's how it's always been. It's about group solidarity and group cohesion,
So
and
does that
how
sound
to
like
behave
something
towards
an
each other,
all-powerful
and how to
God would
treat.
tell people to make, or does
God.
that just sound like an ancient society that doesn't know what they're talking about because they don't have science to do testable predictions that answer for as to why society is and just give themselves an excuse, write a book to give themselves an excuse to do all these things. I mean, which
There's a bigger
one?
problem.
There's
There's a
always
bigger
been
problem
war.
here.
We're still fighting wars
Claire,
with each other
Claire,
now, so I don't know why you're pretending to be so surprised.
Claire, you just contradicted yourself. You literally earlier said that people will go with things just because they said, hey, we've been doing this for a long time. And then if we get rid of those things, they'll be like, hey, we've been doing this for a long time. Why are you getting a long time? So why are you getting rid of these things? You're saying that that's a bad thing. And you are using that now as a justification for your fucking book. So fuck you, game over.
It depends on what the thing is that you're
That
doing.
was quick.
It depends on what the thing is that you're doing and whether you want to keep it or keep it or take it out. I mean, and which rules you want to follow. It's always about the rules that you want to follow, and politics is always about that, isn't it? It's about yes or no. You're evil, no, I'm not. You're sane, no, you're insane. Whatever. I mean, it's always about that anyway. Any political or religious
what I'm trying to say-
disagreement.
We can get, like I said earlier, we can get to the same conclusions that we need, and we can get rid of the rest of them that we don't need. And
What
we can do that
conclusions?
without...
Sorry, what conclusions are you talking about?
The conclusion that beheading people is not correct and that war is also not, is probably something we should avoid.
You do know that
Rather than try to
beheading.
be
You do
like-
know that beheading is really just another word for death penalty, and actually the Quran doesn't talk about beheading. But when people talk about that, they just talk about it. It just means death penalty. Okay.
Okay, I mean, and how do you enact that death penalty? By
No.
beheading them?
No.
No, you don't
Fuck
have to.
that.
It doesn't have to be by beheading. There are different methods. I mean, Americans have the lethal injection, the electric chair, the gallows, a shooting squad. I mean, whatever's your preference.
Claire, I'm against the death penalty.
Okay, well, others are
So what
not.
you're
I'm sure there are plenty of fellow Americans who think it should be brought back. And in certain states,
I
it's
give
still legal. It's still practiced.
Okay, I don't give a shit about what other fucking Americans think. Like I said, you are just acting in malum and prohibitum. You're just saying that these things are wrong because the law says they're wrong. I'm saying that that's not always the case. I'm saying that there are some things that are wrong regardless of what. Like, here's the thing: if I make it a law, right? Like what I just said earlier, with blah, 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 told me and gave me revelation to like, I need to beat the shit out of people with my guitar, right? If they look at me, just because I make that into a law, does that make it moral?
No, because you have no moral authority.
No, but my God does. That's what I'm trying to tell you, is that
But
my
you
God
have to
does. And he
convince
has
all
just as
your
much moral
people.
authority as yours does. He has just as much moral authority as yours does. And if you want to tell me
How
somehow that yours
that's
has more
obviously
moral,
not true, is
hold
it?
up, hold
I
up,
mean, the
hold up,
Abrahamic God is more powerful
hold
than
up,
any other God.
you listen.
Fact is that you can assert that just like what Ilmatic asserted that, hey, my God's all powerful.
No,
You
but
did the same exact thing. That's his point.
And you need to,
the
what I'm
Abrahamic
trying to
God
say is you
isn't don't you
declare.
guys agree that the Abrahamic God is the most powerful God conceivable?
No, no, I don't, because I agree that my God is the most powerful God, and you need to
But
substantiate
nobody
the claim
else
that he is.
agrees with you.
Listen,
No, because
about to
Claire,
read.
no one else agrees because you asserted that without evidence in the same way
What have I
Ilmatic
asserted
did.
without evidence? I mean,
There.
it's true that the Abrahamic God, whether you believe in him or not, is the most powerful deity conceivable.
What? Suppose that
No,
Ilmatic's
because there's no
God did.
evidence he exists. I mean, you can say that maybe he had the most influence on how people act throughout society, but that doesn't mean that he is the most powerful God, because there's no evidence that he even exists.
Yeah, and if
Only
Okay,
you
that
need,
in
people act
theory,
in
here, if the
in
Abrahamic
accordance to
God,
this presupposed God.
in
hold up, guys.
theory,
And
the Abrahamic God
if
is
you
the
want
most
to somehow
powerful
prove,
God.
I'm about to fucking mute you. I've been trying to say this for like the past fucking 10 minutes. If you want to prove somehow that your God is more powerful than mine, you need to understand the nature of my own God, and you need to understand the nature of your own God, and then somehow make that a. You need to like substantiate that. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that my God has no evidence, right? You need to provide evidence for your God at this point. And why the fuck should I follow your God when my God just gave me revelation?
Yeah, because nobody
And he
believes in
claims to be
your
more powerful than
God.
your God, actually.
How do you know? You have no proof.
I believe it.
Hey,
You
but
have no scripture. You have no following. You have no places of worship. I
Yes, I
mean,
do. I do.
you can't just say something and it
okay,
becomes a thing.
Yes,
okay,
yes, I do.
Claire, the amount of people that believe in, like, if more people were to believe that, if the entire world believed that 2 plus 2 is 5, that wouldn't give that would say nothing towards its merit of how logical of an argument it is. Your basic that's kind of that's like the argument that you're trying to make, that, oh well, more people believe in it, therefore it's more right, which
The
has
argument.
nothing to do with your merit.
Well, I
It's
guess
just literally ad populum. You're
you
just
have to see whether it withstands the test of time. I mean, the proof of the pudding is in the eating, and we'll just see how long your system lasts, or if it ever gets established, and whether. But just because it has a
Doesn't
track
prove
record,
God,
it's
that
got
just
a
proves
holy book that people have heard of, and there are quite a lot of Muslims already, and my system might have a better head start than yours.
that doesn't prove that your God is necessarily more right than mine, just that there are more people that support it,
yeah.
support the ideas in that scripture. That doesn't mean that, uh, you can't say that, oh, well, more people support it, therefore my presupposed God must be more correct than your presupposed God. That's not how
I
that
actually
works.
agree with you
Yeah.
because the majority of people can be wrong about stuff. But I guess we have to take a chance.
And Christianity is a
That's just
large
not, no, that's not how logic works. You can't just
God.
say, well, more people believe. That's not a logical argument, though. That's my point.
Okay,
Hey
so
guys,
what is your proposal? I have a proposal. You haven't got one, except I don't want to do it because I don't like the sound of it.
No,
okay.
that's so you're making an argument from ignorance fallacy there. If you're saying, oh well, you don't have anything, therefore I'm right. It's just I'm being intellectually honest and say I don't know if there's a God or not. Just
Yeah, I'm saying I don't know
Hold on.
either, but I'm saying
Yes,
it's
she's an
You're saying you
agnostic.
don't know, but you want to you want the law to presuppose it. You want the law to presuppose it. Like I don't understand why you'd want that.
because it's obvious. Okay,
This-
look. If you look at the people who do believe in it, okay, so we have Jews. They are the world's most ancient and powerful tribe, and they've been around longer than Christians and Muslims. And then you look at Christians; they've had 3 global empires, right? So there have been certain achievements that people of the Abrahamic faiths have well achieved, over and above,
Blair,
Hindus or Buddhists. So you can kind of work out which are the high status religions, equipped with an official handbook, and which ones are, a bit ropey and, haven't got very good scripture or a very good track
Okay,
record.
okay, and how
Blair,
do you
you brought
determine, guys?
you
How
brought
do you?
this example up before, and I've disproven it. Like you said that. Oh well, Jews have existed for a long time, therefore God exists. You're not. That's like the surgeon who trained his entire life to do surgeries. Say that oh well it was due to God. The reason why this surgery performed successfully was due to God, not due to my accomplishment and my decades of study on how to do surgery successfully.
Yes,
And Claire,
because
Because I
people
mean,
who
if
believe
God
in
can do
God
that,
have a
then fuck,
theory of
man, I could be
everything.
a surgeon right now if God's that powerful.
Well, some
I
people
just
want
want to
to
know.
attribute their
You said
success
you
to
were
their
saying that.
parents or school or whatever. Who's to say that they're wrong to do so? Maybe we should thank all the people who've
Yeah, but
helped
you could
us.
actually give a reason as to, oh, hey, my parents gave me a they gave me a supportive household so that I could like you could actually attribute real things to that, real things as to why that's the case. You can't do that with God. There's no evidence for him.
Well,
That's the
that's
point.
because you choose to reject the idea of his existence. But on the other hand, you also know the
Because the burden
existence
of
of
proof
God
is
is
on the
not
theist.
falsifiable. Right?
Because I don't have the burden of
That
proof.
is a problem. The evidence, annoyingly, is 50-50. So you can find arguments in favour and arguments against, and in the end, we're forced to make a moral and political choice about which rules to follow. And it
Where
can.
did
So it's a lifestyle choice.
no, you said the evidence is 50-50. I don't know where the fuck you pulled that statistic. I
Because
don't know
people
where.
will.
Evidence seems to be 0-0.
No, the evidence just seems to be. I want to know the actual like percentage here because you have to like weigh your god, the possibility of your god against other chances of other gods existing, and not only that, but a no god existing, the universe being God. Like like how the fuck did you pull that percentage out of your ass?
Well, because I happen to know that agnosticism is the most respectable, intellectually respectable position to take, because over the centuries people have been having the same arguments and they have found that they can't really prove anything. All they can agree on is that it's unfalsifiable that God exists or that he doesn't. You can't really prove one way or the other, so it's 50-50 in that sense. So people will choose.
No, still no, still not 50-50. I don't know where you're getting that statistic.
You give me a better percentage and back it up with well.
Oh, that's the thing. It's that I don't try to like post useless ass statistics as if they mean anything because like that's not at all like what the percentage would be. I don't know what the percentage would be, but I know for a damn fact it's not 50-50 in the same sense that I know it's not 100%.
Well,
And I mean, like the reason why you could say it's why agnosticism is acceptable is because they recognize the fact that there's no evidence, and they don't. It's not. They don't have the burden of proof. It's not, the burden of proof is on the theist to prove their claim.
Yeah. But
well, the theists have been the
Doug
one
actually.
with the most noble traditions, with their churches and cathedrals and mosques and synagogues, and I mean, what have atheists got? Shopping malls, I guess.
The same thing that you have, like I was saying earlier, I want to get back to the same point that we were talking about earlier, is that you have came to the conclusion that the Quran is the basis, the best thing for your morality. Now, what I'm saying is that we can
still use rationale, get the same conclusions that you have, and get rid of some of those laws that we find to be abhorrent, and that will be a better code for morality than any sort of text doctrine you can fucking buy.
Kind of like me, for example, like what I base my morality off of. I mean, you don't have to base it off of a book, an ancient book written 2,000 years ago.
How do you,
I mean, I have more of a libertarian mindset when it comes to that. Like no victim, like if there's no victim to a crime, like no victim, no crime. And I mean, it's wrong to try and impose that on the government. And I mean, what scripture said that? Well, no, I mean, no scripture said that. But you don't need to have religion in order to have morality.
Yeah, you can literally just say that I know this makes me feel bad when I see other people suffer, therefore I don't want to. And guess what, Claire?
Empathy.
I try to
Empathy.
appeal to the fact that there's going to be people out there that don't feel that way. Guess what? That's still going to happen regardless of whether your fucking text doctrine is imposed upon society or not.
well, I'm thinking libertarianism. Has there ever been a libertarian government anywhere?
I don't know what it has to do. But what I said actually is
Yeah, because
doesn't
you're
necessarily
kind of
have
saying
to
that
do with what I said.
libertarianism is superior to everything else. So I have to ask you, you know, why you think your moral
No,
system is better than anyone else's.
no, that's not libertarianism. What I told you is that the fact that there would be exceptions doesn't matter upon the fact that. Hold on, you have a lot of white noise. Good night.
Seems to be fading in
Hey,
and out.
your mic's kind of going potato a little bit.
Okay, all right, you're
There
better
we
now.
go.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what I'm trying to tell you is that we can still use our own rationale in the same way that you have, right? You are saying that you have come to the conclusion that the Quran is the best source for morality. That is you using your own rationale to justify that. We
Yes.
can just say, hey, I've come to my own rationale to the same things that you have and not use any text doctrine whatsoever. What do you say to the same person who believes, let's say, pretty much everything you believe but is an atheist?
Well, that's fine. I don't really care what they believe as long as they obey the law, because that's the whole point of secular Koranism. It
Yeah.
really
So the Quran is pointless.
why
The Quran is
why
a pointless
it's a
fucking
source
act.
of laws. It's a source of laws.
Because they literally believe the same thing as you, Claire.
The laws that I can pull out of my ass are also a source of laws. Doesn't
I
mean
know,
that it's a
but
good source.
what you pull out of your ass has no authority, and nobody's going to accept it.
And literally, we can just say
That's
the
not
same
what
thing.
gives it merit,
Pull the
though.
fuck out of here.
I've
Well,
explained
what
that a
gives
bunch of
it
times
merit?
already.
What gives it merit then? You know, people have to agree. You know how
Okay.
hard it is to get people to agree on
No,
anything.
they don't. No, just get rid of the agree part. Let's just say, like, for instance, like
Well,
that they don't agree. Let's say that they don't agree, but we still somehow find like a compromise in the middle, where like, let's say we have two opposing sides. One wants abortion, one does not want abortion, and then we compromise to say, okay, we will only allow abortions for the sake of people who are medically impaired or something like that.
Okay, so you
Like
come
we
to
can
a
get that without.
negotiated resolution, which is fine, and then it becomes the law, right? It has to become the law for there to be any point at all. And obviously, we
Yeah.
already have laws, but a lot of people are not happy about those laws. And I'm saying that the most
Okay.
authoritative laws would be the divine law rather than the laws our corrupt and incompetent
Well, you
politicians can pass.
hey,
yeah.
Ilmatic,
You're
can you
saying
let
that
me?
arbitrarily. You're just giving that a random ass label. You're saying divine laws. Okay, well, what is the difference between a divine law and a just straight up human made law? Because as I see it, it's still a human made law if we're still enforcing it on humans. Like I can just say, like I said earlier, I can just say that my fucking God told me that I should hit people in the head with guitars when they look, and then I can say that's a divine law. It has authority. Prove it's not.
Yeah, but people have to believe in your
I mean, we've
thing, right?
already
They have to
went over
believe in
this,
it,
but I
and
mean, I
then
kind of want to ask, like, she asked me um, Claire asked me, well, what gives your morality any merit? I kind of wanted to answer a question on that.
please do.
So, okay, so you asked me what gives my morality merit. I mean, I go based on kind of like like statistics. Like for example, like legal prostitution. I think prostitution should be legal, and I can give you reasons as to why. Like, because there are some states that have implemented that, like Nevada, for example. And when you see these legal prostitution, like these legal prostitution businesses that are completely consensual, you can I mean, they're really clean. Like they make sure that they don't have any they make sure they don't have any STDs and all that. And I mean they're really clean. But like if you but like in places where it's illegal, that actually the problem is worse because I mean then you just get street hoes that might have like all that might have all these diseases, and
Yeah,
that's not even
yeah,
talking about
and
what happens when the
they get
police find
killed.
out about that doesn't even talk. I didn't even go into the what happens with like when the police try and prosecute this, they don't just arrest the man. They arrest the supposed victim, which is what some advocates for being that are against prostitution say, that the woman is the victim. Well, I mean, when you prosecute these victimless crimes, I would argue the woman, the supposed victim, also goes to jail. I mean, what's the justice in that? And
That's
I mean that I would argue gives my morality some that gives it merit.
because you're kinder
So to answer your question in a way.
because you're kinder to the woman. I mean, I would have licensed brothels because there is a verse in the Quran that makes quite clear that it's tolerated. Because there is a verse that says, "Do not force your slave girls into prostitution," which implies that if you don't force them, it's okay. And if slave girls can be prostitutes, then all the more should free women be allowed to become prostitutes. So, it's done and dusted. Licensed brothels under secular Koranism, and this is what most men I think would want anyway.
Yeah. Hey, I just want to ask
What
a
I,
question.
my
Like,
point with that, like you brought up an example of the Quran. My point was that you don't have to have a religious text in order to think that. I went off of based on the evidence of based on the evidence of like how clean versus dirty, and versus how and versus like the police, how they prosecute these, and all that. Like you don't have to have a religious founding. You can have a sort of logical evidence-based founding, kind
Oh,
of like what
sure.
I gave there.
Yeah, yeah, but the thing is, you don't
That's my
actually have to
point.
believe, and I'm building on your point by saying that there are the Ten Commandments. You don't have to believe in God to agree with some of them, because they obviously make sense because we don't want to be murdered, we don't want to be stolen from, we don't want people to bear false witness against us, and all kinds of things. So a lot of these things make sense from reason alone, under the principle of reciprocity. So but obviously it would help if people believed in God, making them more likely to obey those laws, and
uh,
and,
I
and
think more radicalized.
some
Just
who would be more
yeah,
radical.
you could say that, and that kind of gave ancient societies an advantage when they said, "Oh, hey, God doesn't like that." It's just I think now we don't have to revert to this ancient. Well, we have to get people to presuppose that there's a punishment in the afterlife in order to get them to behave. I don't think we need to do that anymore. That's my issue with this.
You say you're a libertarian, and I'm reminded of Stefan Molyneux, whom is also a libertarian and a philosopher. And I spoke to him twice, and on one of the occasions he actually said theocracy would give people fewer laws and lower taxes, because at least under any system of theocracy there would be all those rules, and it would be limited, and there would be a finite number of rules, and you're not expected to keep changing them. But what we have now in the West is that the laws keep changing for no particularly good reason, other than it seems that our politicians want us to spend more money or pay more taxes or fine us more, and we're not happy, and people are getting restive about this constant change, which they don't understand and don't like, and they want a bit of stability for a change.
Yeah, but I mean that still happen. I mean, doesn't that still happen in like these Muslim theocracies anyway?
Well, yeah, there's six of
Like
them.
Saudi Arabia, for example. Like they just want to instill fear of a god just so that they can keep power. I mean, I don't.
Yeah,
I'm
people
not
always say,
particularly
oh, and
convinced on
still
how a
fear.
theocracy would help with this.
The whole point is okay, you can be an atheist, and the law is meant to instill fear. I mean, cancel culture is about instilling fear. In the Soviet Union, there's the whole idea of spying and getting your children to spy on you, and spyware and all kinds of things. It's meant to instill fear. We fear getting our channels cancelled, or our Facebook accounts deleted, or whatever. These are very real fears, right? Or the worst thing is that, well, the police are going to come and take away your phone and your computer, and and then you lose your job and whatever. That's very real too. So it doesn't have to be God being the policeman in your head. But I mean, obviously, okay, we know that laws are here to frighten us and threaten us, and it's like, okay, I accept that people do need to be controlled. They do need to be reminded that if they kill people, there's going to be some blowback if they do that, or steal cars, or whatever they do that we don't like. That is obviously criminal. So that makes sense. But what we don't want is the wrong laws put in place by corrupt and incompetent people that will destroy our lives. So that's what I'm saying. You want the right laws discouraging the wrong things and encouraging the right things, and maybe people will be happier if they think that this is what's actually happening in their society, rather than the opposite.
I mean, that's true. It's just like how having a theocracy doesn't guarantee that you have the quote unquote right laws. If anything, what you said, based on what you said about a theocracy, you wouldn't have ever changing laws. That could severely backfire if you have the quote unquote wrong laws. Then it would be harder to get get good laws out, but you could say the same thing for bad laws as well. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, there are ways of reasoning by analogy. I mean, if you're a lawyer, you know that, the sort of things as precedents, and then you get, all these sort of appeal court judges agreeing with each other, and of course it's very.
I have a big question. I don't know if you have an answer to this, because this is going to be interesting. In your imposition of a theocracy that is Quran ruled, would I be able to convert to Christianity if I wanted to?
There would be freedom of belief, because I've been saying for so long to Americans, particularly, that the First Amendment is based on Chapter 2, verse 256 of the Quran, and that's what I've been trying to tell Americans. So yeah, you would definitely get freedom of belief, and yeah, you can be any religion you like, as long as you obey the law.
how's that a theocracy then? I'm confused.
Not a fucking
Okay,
theocracy.
a theocracy is defined as a society governed by God's laws. And there are, there's the Old Testament version of it if you want that, but it's a bit harsh. And the Quran is, Judaism light,
Yeah,
shall we say.
Would fucking Allah really love it? Would Allah love it if I just straight up just started worshiping, let's say, like the Zoroastrian gods? Would he love that?
Well, only, okay, he will deal with with
Or
you
does
in
he
your
think I should
afterlife.
be punished
No,
for
no,
worshiping
I'm
false
okay.
idols?
I'm going to repeat. You have absolute freedom of belief, and you won't be forced to hold any particular beliefs. It's like the First Amendment, just like
Then
it.
it's not enforcing the Quran's laws, because it says that you shouldn't worship false idols. You fucking idiot!
It doesn't say that.
I don't know how to like.
It doesn't say that. It doesn't say
Then
that.
why do you keep Then why do you keep saying that Jesus is a false idol if that has any merit against Christianity?
Because there's a verse in chapter 18, verse 4, that says, admonish those who claim that God has begotten the Son. So, I'm afraid it says that, and it must mean
So then,
Christians.
in that case, I could not convert to
Yeah,
Christianity.
you
Thank you
can,
for
but
answering my
I
question.
think people might want to admonish you, and you'd have to suck it up. But nobody's saying you can't.
So, do you think there should be? So, are you arguing for just social consequences, or do you think there should be legal consequences in this theoretical theocracy that we're making here, Claire?
Yeah, there would be actual
Because
laws that are legally
theocracies, they impose
enforceable.
God's law, right?
Yes,
Huh?
yes. A theocracy is a
What?
society governed by God's laws. Yes.
Oh,
So, do you think it should have legal consequences then? Like if
Yes.
I said, "Oh, hey, I want to worship the Daedric god of order, Jigalag."
Well, yes, you can start your own temple if you want. I mean, it's not going to outlaw, Hinduism or whatever. It's like, yeah, keep going to your temples and whatever. But I guess people in the country will sort of know what is mainstream and maybe gravitate towards it. But
hey, I also want to read something you're wrong about, because the Quran does prohibit false idols. Ye shall make you no idols, nor graven image, neither rear you up a standing image, neither shall ye set up an image of a stone in your land to bow down unto it, for I am the Lord your God only.
okay, what chapter, please? It sounds like something from the Old Testament, but may prove me wrong.
Okay, you're right. You're right. I'll admit I'm wrong about that one. Okay, that was from Old Testament.
Okay, but I mean,
You can continue. I'm just looking for this.
okay, what the Quran says about idolatry is it just reproves people. It's like, why would you want to worship these idols who can neither help nor harm you, and that's as far as it goes. It doesn't say, oh, smash their idols and behead them for their idolatry. There's nothing like that. So I don't think you will be able to find a verse in the Quran. I mean, I'm sure, over the centuries, a few Muslims might have exceeded what is actually allowed in the Quran. But even that, then, the Quran says, don't exceed the bounds, and don't forbid what God has allowed, and don't allow what God has forbidden. And already anticipating the tendency of people to, well, try it on and think they can get away with it. But I really wish
so
people
you
would
do-
read it.
What? So you do? Okay. So I don't understand. Do you want to punish them legally or socially for worshiping false idols?
I don't want to punish them legally. There is no verse that tells anybody to punish people legally, because there is this sort of idea about hidden idolatry, which I will quickly.
Social consequences?
No,
Yeah, but that's not a
there are no.
theocracy.
Okay. It's called shirk, shirk, which means idolatry, but there are different kinds. There's open idolatry, which is a bowing before idols, and there's another kind called hidden idolatry, and it says that Jews and Muslims praying correctly could be guilty of that, because it's like a kind of thought crime. So, if your mind wanders while you're supposed to be praying, and you think of, I don't know, your mistress that you're going to meet after you make your excuses to your wife, or whatever you think in your head when you should be praying, that is nothing to do with the worship of God. That is hidden idolatry, and Islam already accepts that people can do that. Even a Jew or a Muslim apparently praying correctly could be guilty of hidden idolatry, and idolatry can include all kinds of things like, well, following the wrong idea, or doing things for the wrong reason. So it's so all
So then that's
encompassing
something that would be legally
if a
enforced
Muslim,
then, right?
if a Muslim can be guilty of hidden idolatry, then all the more, then they don't have the right to tell people not to worship idols, which is why the attitude towards idolatry in the Quran is kind of reproving, gently reproving, saying, why would you waste your time and energy worshipping idols that can never harm nor hurt nor help you, and that's as far as it goes. But of course, a Jewish punishment is death, because of the golden calf and stuff.
So basically, you don't think there should be any social or legal consequences, correct?
No consequences at all for idolatry, so you can
Okay.
set up your temple of idols or whatever if you want. But but people might say things about you being silly and wasting your time and whatever, and you'll have to suck it
that
up.
this
What
is not.
about the? Oh, sorry.
No, you're good, man. I've been talking a lot.
I was just gonna say, what about the jizya, as in the payment paid by non-Muslims to an Islamic state? What
Well,
about that?
Well,
Would that?
my interpretation of it is that it is a conditional tribute. So a tribute is what you exact after you conquer a foreign nation, and you say you got to pay me a tribute now. But the jizya is avoidable if that country says, okay, we don't want to pay your jizya, we'll just convert to Islam, and then we don't have to pay you the jizya, and you have to say okay. But maybe we can go, together we can go and invade, the next country and then extract the jizya from them, And I think that was kind of why within 100 years after the death of Muhammad, most of the Middle East was already Muslim, because it was such a good bargain, you invade another country and say, well, you either become Muslim like us or you pay us the tribute. And they usually said, well, the tradition has always been that whenever two tribes have a war, the victorious tribe will be presumed to have had the support of their god, and it means that their god defeated our god, and so we might as well worship the god of the winning tribe, because our god let us down. So that was how it worked, and I don't think the Arabs of the time had any problem with that. So that was why it was so quickly Islamicized after the death of Muhammad, because it was such an obvious bargain.
Right, but what I'm saying is, if say our country, the UK, became an Islamic state under your secular Koranism right now, yeah, and I'm not a Christian, but presume that I am, yeah, would I have to pay a jizya or not if I
Okay.
refuse to convert to Islam?
I'll explain how it works.
I'm saying I don't want to convert.
No,
Would I
you
have to
don't have to
pay it?
convert. You have freedom of belief, so you can be Christian or pagan or whatever. But if Britain were to invade France, for example, and Britain won, and then the Britain can say, Frenchies, you're going to pay us a jizya or what, and then they can decide whether to pay or not, or Ireland or wherever, and France might say, we'll do the same thing as we'll become Muslim, but maybe we go and attack Germany together, that kind
What
of thing.
if the law? Here's the thing. Let's say I have a religion, right? And let's say, like, for instance, that I would be, I don't know, a Satanist, and you, like an actual Satanist, and you want to impose these laws, and they directly conflict with my beliefs, and I refuse to live under secular Koranism.
Well, what do you think?
What do you do about that?
Well, it depends on what you do. Actually, conflicts with any of the laws in the Quran. So
Let's say for the sake of argument that I have the belief that all of the laws that you're trying to impose conflict with what I believe.
Okay, and then what are you going to do?
What do you mean? What am I going to do? What are you going to do? You're the one trying to impose a theocracy.
You're going to break them. You're going to lead a rebellion against me, or what? I mean, I have to ask you what is your
I don't know what you mean. What do I'm asking you. What are you going to do? Because I refuse to change my lifestyle.
Well, what is your lifestyle? I mean, I'm not closing down the pubs and bars if that's what you're afraid of.
Literally take anything from the Quran, and I do the opposite.
Well, then you'd be subject to the punishment
Let's just say,
in those laws. But maybe you agree with some.
Okay. So you're saying that if I decide that let's just get rid of like the heinous shit like murder and things like that. Let's just say that it comes down like to homosexuality and things like that. That I decide, hey, my religious doctrine says that it's okay for me to be a homosexual, something specific like that. And then you come in and you say, no, it's not okay to be a homosexual because my God said so.
Um, I'm saying that it would accommodate, discrete homosexuals anyway, because, the form that punishment would take for homosexuals is,
Yeah, I don't give a shit about discrete homosexuality. I care about homosexuality. Are you going to
okay,
punish
if
me
you
for?
were gaily married, I would have to, I'm afraid I would have to abolish gay marriage. But
Yeah, and you know what? None of us, I guarantee you, none of us agree with that shit in here. And we got there without the fucking Quran, the Bible, any of that. Unnecessary.
Yeah, I mean, no victim, no crime. Consensual
okay, I
adults
mean
should be
that's
able
your
to
view,
get married
I'm
if
saying it might have something to do with your falling birth rates and a rapidly aging
I don't.
society,
Why should I give
creating the
a shit about
need
falling birth?
for immigrant labor, and this upsets a lot of people in the West, doesn't it?
Hold on.
Wait,
Why should I
what's
care
the
about?
link?
immigrant labor could be a good thing. What? What are
What's
you
the link
talking
with
about?
falling birth rates and homosexuality? I don't get it.
Okay.
Because presuming that homosexuality was outlawed, those people aren't going to turn straight and start having children.
Well, I think if you
Yeah, fuck
tolerate
yeah, exactly,
something,
exactly what he said.
if you tolerate something, then there will be more of it to tolerate. So the idea is that you want a stable population, not shrinking rapidly or rising rapidly because it'll create instability and problems. So you kind of want about the same number of people in your country, but if it becomes significantly fewer in a short space of time, then you'll find, oh, we need the people, we need nurses and train drivers, bus drivers, whatever, and then it will attract foreign labour, and then it'll upset the locals, and then you will have changes in your society that you won't like. So the trick
You
would
know,
always be to keep things, much as they have been, in order
you
not
know,
to upset
we,
people.
we have like the high one of the high like I think it's the highest population that's ever been on the earth currently, right, guys? Like, and we
Yeah,
also have the most homosexuals that are openly out right now.
Yeah, and you have
And
a
I
very
think
high average age, 40 in the West.
Claire, what's the argument that premarital sex is bad?
It distracts you from becoming married parents. And maybe it distracts you from parenthood at all.
Why should I
It
care about
stops you
marriage?
it
yeah,
stops you from
give a shit
bonding
about marriage.
properly with yeah, but I mean I hear these sort of scornful attitudes towards marriage, which means that you're not
Premarital
really.
sex is bad because it distracts you from marriage. You're begging the
You can
question.
have, hey,
Of course, it's outside of marriage. No kidding.
hey,
Yeah.
guys, I think that I have a pretty good point here. Like, I mean, like there are like experts on like yeah, on like the development of children that say that yeah, having a two-parent household, particularly with a man and a woman, because they have different parenting styles, is I mean that's how you have a functional family unit. But you don't need to be married, as I said with my aunt who's never been married but has been with my uncle-in-law ish and had kids and have been with each other for decades. You don't need marriage in order to.
You're
I'm out,
more
guys. I'm
likely to
done with
break
this.
up with your partner if you're not married. I mean, I think that the statistics have shown that unmarried parents tend to break up more frequently than married parents. So, you know, and it's all about
Well, I
how
mean,
the next generation is parented, and if they're all messed up and mixed up and transgender and drug addicted, then you are going to be in trouble.
What's wrong with being transgender?
Well, I think it might
I just disagree with
cause.
your with marriage. Well, like You don't have to have
No.
your
I asked
implementation
her
of that into
what
the law.
I asked her what's wrong with premarital sex. Oh, because it distracts you from marriage. Oh, no kidding. It's outside of marriage, doofus. So you can't beg the question. So what is an
Yeah.
independent standard from which you can argue from in order to say that premarital sex is wrong?
Yeah,
Go.
that was circular logic.
Well, because it creates fatherless homes, and convicted prisoners tend to come from fatherless
No.
homes.
I've had
Yes.
premarital sex. I don't live in a fatherless
Yeah,
home.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not
but
in
you're
drugs. I'm not in crime.
okay. You're
I'm at
maybe
school.
all right, all right, but I mean, you will find that most convicted prisoners that you will find in prison come from fatherless homes. So just because you happen to be middle class, well, that you'll be all
Yeah,
right.
but that's just
You'll be
because they
one of the
don't have the
people who'll be
stability in
all
the
right.
first place.
Hmm?
That's because they don't have the stability in the
Right.
first place. I mean, you don't like you can. I mean, you can get married. Like for example, there are some people that get married like when they're 15 or 18 just so that they can have sex, and I mean that's no better than. Matter of fact, that's actually like way worse than having premarital sex when you're that age, as opposed to getting married just so that you can have sex. Because now you have legal marriage courts to deal with if you wanted to get a divorce or whatever.
Yeah, she's overlooking the antecedent conditions of most of these prisoners that he's citing. Most of these prisoners come from rundown communities, and it's not their fault that they were born and raised into them. They just happen to be at the wrong end of bad circumstances,
I mean, father. I mean,
as far as that
I do
goes.
kind of agree with her on like fatherless households do. I mean, they can. They there is a heavy correlation with that, and there's an expert that I've listened to that talked about that before. So I kind of agree with her on that. It's just you don't need the Quran you don't need a religious background to believe this. Like I
Yeah.
can believe it just based on evidence outside of religion.
But the other issue that she has is that most of her claims, since they're not backed up by anything, most of what she argues, right, has to be like some appeal to some legal standard. But so what? I want to know what argument that she has for the positions that she has, right, without appealing to some sort of legal standard, the Quran, it's some sort of precedent. She has to argue by herself why she thinks this moral code that she wants to implement on everyone else is good. And so far, in this more than an hour and a half conversation, she hasn't presented any of that.
I told you, stable
Yeah.
society comes from stable families, and stable families come from stable marriages, and the government should make sure that people take marriage seriously.
You don't think individuals can sort those things out? Why do you need the government to impose it?
Because the individuals will do what the
Because
law
people are too
allows.
stupid.
Yeah, they are stupid, and they will do what the
Because
law allows. They will do what the law allows, and say, well, it's not a crime. The law allows me to do this, so it's okay what I do.
okay, but that's still assuming that there's even a legal standard there in the first place that allows them to do what they want. So I mean, you still haven't said anything. You're just begging the question again. My gosh, people need to learn what logical fallacies are.
What
Anyway,
logical fallacy?
I'm done. I'm honestly done. Or as like Darth says, we're done. We're done. We're over with. I mean, an hour and a half conversation and you can't give one cogent, coherent argument,
I've told you
right?
about
That
marriage and
doesn't
family values
beg
to
the
restore the
question. That
patriarchy.
doesn't
And
appeal to
okay, I'm
legality.
afraid you
I
guys are
don't give a
you
shit.
guys are not
You haven't
interested in
presented
marriage. Then
anything.
obviously it doesn't appeal to you. It doesn't sound like you guys are interested in becoming married fathers. So what I offer is
No,
of no
marriage is
interest to
very
you.
stupid. No,
Well,
no
there you
one
go.
should burn their wallet that way.
You'll never like secular Koranism then, because it would raise the price of sex, and that's what you don't want. Not every man will be in favour of it. Particularly men who don't want to marry.
Just before I go, one last question. Do you ever think that this has a chance of being actualized in the real world?
I don't know. How would I know
This
that?
secular
I mean, I
Koranism
can only
thing?
hope. I can only hope
No,
because
no, just tell me. Just what you hope.
there
So,
is a
but do you
possibility.
think there's a chance?
Yes, of course there is a
Yeah,
chance.
what's the possibility?
I don't know. I can't work out probabilities. I'm not a bookie. I don't
Uh, uh,
run
uh,
bets.
okay, I wasn't asking for that. Just try and do a social experiment. Go to other servers, right? Any that has to do with politics and religion, you could just search politics and religion up in the Discord, right? And then you'll get like a section of each religious servers, and you can go there and you can ask people, hey, what do you think about secular Koranism? And lay out the details and come back to me and tell me how many people are going to support your political slash religious system, right?
Probably very
Just do that
few.
for me.
Probably very few because they like the price of sex low and dirty. So that's why I mean, men will not think, oh, I feel like paying more for sex. I want to marry and have children. They probably don't want to do that. I mean, that's the whole point of making marriage so exclusive. It's like you're only allowed to have sex if you're married because that was a rule in the olden days. And
You're just
and
like a communist. You don't understand human nature at all. That's why you want to constrain it.
well, I'm only
Just like a
proposing to
communist. You
regulate
don't
it.
understand human nature, therefore you want to constrain it and restrain it in such a way where they follow these set of stringent collectivist laws, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which aren't even going to work because, first of all, your system isn't going to persuade anyone. I mean, you have ridiculous views.
It would
Now, I'm not saying
persuade.
that to be mean. I'm just saying that because that statement corresponds with reality. I mean, you have a whack job political system.
Well, it is the antithesis of what goes on now. I mean, I am proposing restoring the patriarchy, and the West is a matriarchy. So I do accept that it would be considered transgressive because it is the opposite of what people are used to now. But it would suit people who want to be married parents. So and I thought it would
Right.
suit nationalists, but they're not interested in it either. And this actually led me to think that, when people talk about patriarchy, it's like, yeah, it was a burden on men, which exactly explains why so many men don't want to do it now. It's like, no, we're happy with our sex toys and our sex dolls and our gay sex and, and picking up women that we're not married to and having one night stands with them. We're not interested in marrying and paying for their kids, and I think that is basically the attitude now.
And you tend to overlook that some people are more responsible than others.
I
But
believe in the Victorian era morality, I guess, in my opinion.